Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll discuss type conversion and type checking in Python. These techniques are important when working with data of different types and ensuring that your program behaves as expected. So we have briefly touched on this at the beginning, but I thought to wrap up this section, it would be very useful to reiterate over some of these steps and maybe elaborate a little. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these. We are going to create a new file as we usually do. We'll call this type conversion underscore checking dot py. Okay, we'll give it a title, type conversion, type checking. So first we'll have a look at type conversion. So let's Python provides built-in functions to convert between different types, such as integers, floats, and strings. These functions can be helpful when you need to perform operations on data with mixed types. Let's take a look at some examples. Let's say we have a variable integer value, and to be an integer value, we need to give it a whole number, of course. So say 42. Let's create a float number 2. So float value equals, well, what we should do here is we don't want to create our own float. Let's convert. So if you remember the different data types, let's open up the file quickly. A float was a floating point number, and the integer was the whole number. Now, when we printed out these types, Python declared this as float in lowercase. Let's actually quickly run it, and you can see class float. So we can actually use that in our code. So let's write float, and you see it go a different color because it's a Python reserved word or type. And then let's put in integer type, integer value, and let's print float value. Value. Let's run, and there's the float value. So what happened here was we assigned integer value an integer. We created another variable called float value, but we converted that integer into a float. When we printed it, the float value, of course, we got float because there was a type conversion. Okay, so let's try some more examples to make this a bit more clear and help us learn it. So float value, we'll reassign this to pi, so 3.14159, and we'll do integer value, and we'll assign this int. So if we double check here, run int int, and we'll parentheses, and we'll put in our float value. Let's print integer value, and we'll put in our integer value here. And let's just get rid of this, and we'll run integer value 3. So we gave it a floating point number, a float, and it rounded it to make it an integer because an integer is a whole number, and we done the conversion. Now we printed out the whole number. So let's have a look at strings now. Let's have a look. So if we do string value equals 1, 2, 3, we'll do integer value equals int string value, and we'll print integer value from string, and we'll put in our new integer value. Let's get rid of this. Let's run integer value from string 123. If we print string value here underneath and run, we see we get 123 and 123. But if you check the types, type string value, and we will print the type of the integer value and run, we've got a string and an integer, so they're both different types. So I'm just going to do Control Z to take us back. Okay, yeah, make it better there. Now, if we put in some text here and tried this, we're going to see something different. So let's run. So put in hello, and then we'll click run. Now we've got our error here, and we've got a value error. Invalid literal for int with base 10. So you can't convert a string that is text to an integer because there is no integer representation. So it's important to know that. So we put it back to 123, run. If we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and run, and it'll do the same for us. Perfect. Let's have a look at another example. Let's do integer value. We'll do 42. We'll do string value equals str for string. We'll do integer value. Let's print string value from integer. Okay, I'm going to comment this print statement out. We'll run. String value from integer 42. Let's check the types. And we'll check the type of this as well. And that's pretty clear what it is. And we'll run. So we've got class string. We didn't print this out, so we need to print integer value. Great. And apologies. So we can, yeah, we'll run it. Okay, so we've got a class int for our string value. Sorry, which was down here, 42, but it converted it to a string. Yes, so that is good. Very nice. Okay, so let's do some Control Z here, clean this up a little bit. There we go. Let's move on to type checking. So type checking. Okay. Okay, apologies for any disturbance in the background noise there. Okay, so moving on to type checking. To check the type of a variable or a value, you can use the built-in type function as we've been doing, or the isInstance function. The type function returns the type of a value, as we have seen here. And isInstance function checks if a value is an instance of a specified type. Let's take a look. So value equals 42. Try and do this one yourself. All we're going to do is print the type. So we want this same output here. I'm sure you could write this out. If not, let's continue. Type of value. Okay. We'll do type value. We want to check the type of the value. Okay. Now the other function that I mentioned was the isInstance, which we're going to use now. So we're going to follow me here. So if isInstance value int colon, hit enter and put print. We'll do value is an integer. Let's enter, else colon print value is not an integer. Let's run. Value is an integer. So we have an if-else statement here, which is something we're going to learn more about in later lectures. So don't worry too much, but do follow along and write it down. So we've got isInstance. Well, this is a function from a Python built-in function. We gave it the value, which is our variable here that holds 42. We're asking it to check, is it an int? Is it an instance of int? And because it is, it says value is an integer. If we put something, if we put text in here, run, value is not an integer. So I hope that's quite clear. And I guess at this point, it's important to note that Python is a dynamically typed language, which means that the type of a variable can change during runtime, as we have seen. However, being aware of the types of your variables and using type checking and conversion when necessary can help prevent unexpected behavior and make your code more robust, which means we should always be on top of the types of data that we're working with. But yeah, that's it for this video on type conversion and type checking in Python. We will be moving on to a new section after this video. This was covering the basics of Python, well, the very basics. I hope you enjoyed it and learnt a lot, and I will see you on the next section. Well done.